All right, Aurora, welcome to the mom room.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So the first actually, I have a note here because I saw your Halloween costume
Oh
and I
my
was
God,
like,
that was my idea. And of course, my sister Olivia is already kind of trying to take credit for it. She does this thing where she's kind of like, "Wasn't that such a good idea, guys?" Like trying to see if like I remember that it was my idea, not hers.
yeah,
But I was so impressed with like she was able to like do that decide the witch. I don't know. She was able to get ugly really well. I was impressed.
it was so good. Like I was just like scrolling through your Instagram and I was like, oh my God, I need to address this Halloween costume. Like even though Halloween is now gone,
I
where did you get
know.
those costumes? Like were they made for you?
No, it was like the week before, and since I have two sisters, I've always wanted to do the Hocus Pocus witches, but we've never gotten our stuff together enough to get it done. But then we went on a Halloween site, and we probably spent like $300 each on our costume because I got like the witch's boots, the like
Yeah,
necklace, it like all the little things. And it came in time and it ended up being perfect. I mean, the
it
wigs
was
were
so
were
good.
ridiculous.
And did you guys go to a party or something?
No, they came here and we went trick-or-treating
Oh,
with my
okay, nice.
kids. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, so those are like impressive costumes to just go trick or treating.
Yeah, I mean, the neighbors were impressed.
And for people listening, they're probably like, okay, what the hell was she? They
Yeah.
were the Hocus Pocus sisters, the witches, and it was
Yeah.
so good. So go to her Instagram, scroll down, and you'll see what it is. Um, but anyways, moving on to motherhood, the first question I usually ask people when they come on is what their transition to motherhood was like. Do you remember those early days? And do you remember being, because when I went through it, I was like, there was a lot of unexpected things, from like the physical recovery to anxiety to all the things. So, what do you remember about that time? And was there anything unexpected?
It's so funny because my youngest sister, who's like, I think she's like 8 years younger than me, she's turning 28 this week. And and I to me, she's a teenager. And that's
Yeah.
when I had my son. I was 28. And I remember like I really wanted to be a mom. It was one of the only things I was 100% sure I needed to do. And for some reason, I had this pressure in my brain. Like I wanted to get it done before I was 30 because my mom did. And I didn't want to be like an old mom, even though like
Yep.
I don't know where I got these ideas from. But when I had my mindset on something, I figure out a way to make it happen. And now looking back, I'm like, why did nobody tell me I was a teen mom?
I was
Like
a
that I
baby.
that I could have waited. Why did I feel like I needed to do it so early? Oh man, yeah. I mean, I remember just so my son was a week late, and
Mm,
I just remember I really didn't want to do the formula thing. I wanted him to be I was pretty hyper vigilant and paranoid, and I wasn't expecting to be that way. And I just remember I didn't know that your milk doesn't come in right away in those like
hmm
3 days after they're born and the weight drops. And nobody tells you that the weight drops, but your milk doesn't come in yet. And I didn't want to give him formula because I had heard all this stuff about how it messes up the microbiome of the gut. And so I just remember being so paranoid, and I pumped out like the littlest amount of colostrum, and I set it down, and my dog came over and his tail wagged and hit it off like the coffee table, and I just remember
Oh,
crying, and I was so upset. It was so frustrating. And I just remember like I always thought I'd be so good at it, like I was made for it, but I didn't realize like how much sitting there is. There's a
oh
lot of
yeah.
sedentary time where it's just you and your baby, and it didn't really come naturally to me. I was anxious. I did not like to be sitting. I'm the kind of person who likes to get in my car and zip around all the time. It made me really
Yeah.
realize how few drive-throughs I have in my neighborhood because, you have to take the baby out every time you get out of the car. And then when the car stops, they cry. Um,
Yeah.
and then just like the reaction of my sisters and my mom had 5 kids, so she had a lot of opinions. And everybody had an opinion about how I would react every time the baby would make a noise, pick him up every time he
Mm,
cries. And there was this constant dialogue between me and them about how I was creating a monster. because he ended up really not sleeping for the first like year of his life. And that's actually how my Instagram took off. So it was like a blessing and a curse that he was a quite difficult baby compared to my second, because he really didn't sleep. And I had the snoo and all the gadgets. And remember the owlet sock?
Oh my God, all the things that they
All
sell
the
to
things,
parents
and
who
it
are
was
just
it
like,
would alarm you when they're
yeah,
basically when they were like suffocating, but then it would like kind of alarm you. It would false alarm you all the
by
time.
accident.
So it was like, your baby's dying. Like, this is kind of not okay to
It's
tell
not
me
good
that.
for
It's not true.
anxiety.
Yeah. So man, looking back, I probably would have done some things. Just don't know. I don't know how much. It's hard to know. Like, it's hard to know if I was the one who made him not sleep,
Some
or if he
babies
was
just
just,
don't
yeah.
sleep.
Oh my
Like
God, we had
I
all the
had
naps.
so many similar, like everything that you said, I was just like, oh my God, yes. Like I'm a busybody. And
Mm-hmm.
I went from living, I had Milo rather late, I guess. Like I was 34,
You were
but
geriatric pregnancy,
I was
technically.
an elderly woman,
They call it
basically.
geriatric pregnancy. I think
Yeah.
35 is their geriatric.
Yeah. Because I was
Insane.
in school for so long. I did like a master's, a PhD. My husband was in medical school residency. So by the time we were done all that, like you're 34.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so used to living an adult life on my own and doing whatever I wanted. And I was such a busybody, like, okay, go to yoga, go here, groceries,
Mm-hmm.
make this meal. And so I really struggled too with the staying home and just sitting part of
Yeah.
it. And
Nobody
it's
warned
like
you for that.
I just like wanted to do stuff. And
Yeah.
that's why like people who are like, "Oh, the newborn stage was the hardest for me." Like for me it was when his name's Milo, when he started moving around, because then like when they're newborn and they're just sleeping, you can still like be a busybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when they start crawling, I was like, "Oh shit." Like
Yeah.
now I have to be on him 24/7.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think the newborn phase for me was my least favorite. Like, I always say, I would have preferred to do that fourth trimester with him in my belly,
Okay.
because just the fragility, the not knowing like what they're crying about, it really was a lot for me. And I didn't, and everybody's like, "Oh, newborn phase is so easy, you can just take them anywhere with you." Mine wasn't the kind of baby who would let you just wrap him and walk him around. Like, he was never chill. Um,
Mm.
and my parents and my sisters, of course, are all like, "Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Like, you're not chill, so he's not chill." And also, like, he can sense your energy. I hated when people would say that. I cannot wait till my sisters have kids,
Yeah.
so I could just be like, "Well, told you so."
Do they ask you for advice right now? Like, or like, do they comment on your parenting, or do they like ask
Yeah,
any
like Remy,
questions or?
my son who didn't sleep, he continues to be difficult in other ways now. Like, he doesn't eat really.
Mm.
Eating every day is a battle for him, and it's to the point where like he will gag if he sees like a strawberry on the other side of the room. He's just
Oh.
that kind of a kid, and so it's not something that I can control or that I'm doing to him. But my parents and my sisters are always like, just stop off. He's not going to starve himself. He's going to be fine. He also would never take a bottle. He would only take my nipple. I would cut holes in my shirt and put like different nipples through it to try to trick him into, and he would always be like,
Yeah.
"No, this is not my nipple."
Gross. That is
So I
so
couldn't leave the
funny.
house because I had to breastfeed him like around the clock, until he started. I like weaned him off the boob with chocolate milk. I think that's probably because like he wouldn't take anything else.
Oh my God. People don't talk about the stress of feeding your kids even when they're older. Like Milo is 6 also.
Yeah,
And like it's true if they are hungry, like because as adults, we love food. And if there's food in front of us, like we eat it right away.
totally.
But last night we ordered pizza and he didn't eat much that day. And I'm like, here's some delicious pizza. And he's like, I don't want it. I'm like,
So weird.
are you
Yeah,
human? Like, who
right.
is offered pizza, hasn't
And says
eaten,
no.
and they're like, no, I'm good. I'm like,
It is such like a primal thing. When I see my son eating, it fills me with such joy.
Yeah.
Like when my kids are eating a meal, especially if it's if it's something healthy, like, I just feel like I've won today. Like if nothing else good happens, like my kids have eaten food, and I feel so good
Yeah.
about that.
Like he's eating. Oh my God, we just went to a resort in Mexico, and that's tough because the food is different than here. And it's always like, they'll have like green specks all over things
Totally,
because
yeah, the
they're
green stuff.
flavoring it. And I'm like, can you just not? But he ate salmon and rice at one of the dinners. And I was like, oh my God, like
That
this
is
made
so.
my
I mean, I'm
day.
happy
Like,
for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was ecstatic.
When I
So,
see Instagram moms who like make their kids these elaborate meals, I always comment and I'm like, I hope you know how lucky you are that your
yeah,
kid will eat anything. Like you hit the jackpot.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough for others. Um, So I was reading a People magazine article that you interviewed for not too long ago, and it was talking about your co-parenting with your ex.
Hmm.
And I was wondering what the challenges are that you have faced co-parenting with your ex and how you guys have navigated that today.
Yeah. So we got divorced. We got separated about 2 years ago. And there's been different phases of us getting along, not getting along, but we've made a concerted effort to be on the same page about never saying anything negative about each other to
Mm,
the kids. And like always answering each other's FaceTime calls when the kids are with the other one. Um, there's been times where I think out of insecurity, we kind of try to compete with each other on
yeah,
like who's doing a better job, and kind of keeping a keen eye out for the other one messing up. Kind of like, oh, you forgot his cleats, didn't you? Or I heard that he didn't have his homework yesterday. What's up with that? And it's just such a lose-lose situation because there will be a time when you're the one who messes up and you
right.
don't want that other person calling you out. And I think I've learned to be a little less sensitive to it. I'm trying at least because um it, it can like I feel like there's nothing that can get under my skin more than having him say to me either blatantly or just like subliminally that I'm not doing a good job. And
Mm,
so I try to, men are very kind of simple in that way where like if you give them a pat on the back, they it goes a long way. So I try to play to that and say like, oh, good job. They miss you so much. Or like Soleil, my daughter, I'm like, she wanted to talk to you. I always try to reiterate to him like that the kids love him so much and they want to be with him just as much as they want to be with me. And I say that to other people too. My kids are always like, oh, that must be hard for them when they have to leave you and go to their dads and I'm like, actually, they really don't have a preference, which I'm so grateful for. They love their dad. They're obsessed with him and they love going to spend time with him. So I think we've done a good job in that way.
that's
But it's hard.
amazing.
It's definitely hard. And like logistically it's hard, especially if you're not a super organized person, which neither of us really are. Just the schedule of kids like sports and school and the
Mm,
uniforms and all of that, we've really had to get on the same page. We tried to be really flexible in the beginning and not have a schedule. And this was actually one of the only things that I was dating this guy for like a hot second. And he was like, you need to get a schedule with your ex-husband so that I know when you're free, so we can hang out. And he kind of was the catalyst for me being like, okay, we're going to make a 2-2-5 schedule. You have Mondays and Tuesdays, I have Wednesdays and Thursdays, and we alternate weekends. And that has been a game changer for
mm-hmm.
us because, before we were just kind of helping, like I would take them when I could and he'd take them. But then in the back of your mind, you are kind of keeping score of like, who's doing more? Is this really 50-50?
Yeah.
So we try to be flexible, but realistically flexible.
So if there's people listening that are on the verge of separating or they are in the middle of getting a divorce, are there things when you look back to when you guys first separated where you were like, oh, I wish we did this right from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, we lived together for a year after we were separating. That was difficult because I think during that time when you are contemplating separate, or when you've decided that you're going to separate, and then there's this gray area time of like, okay, well, we need to figure out the finances, we need to figure out who's leaving the house, what are we going to do? I think if I ripped off the Band-Aid sooner, it would have avoided a lot of conflict, because we're both mourning and grieving and angry, and to be around each other is not it. You need your space during that
Yeah.
time. So I think I wish I had left sooner, I think, because I but in a way it's like, how could I have done that, really, because we hadn't figured out who was going to keep the house and who was going to. There was a lot that went through. There was a lot of details that I lost a lot of sleep over, and I'm so happy to be on the other side of that, because it really did like give me some gray hairs. Um, but I think ultimately, one thing that I would say to somebody who's going through this is just know that your worst fear it's not that bad. Like, my worst fear was that my kids were going to be so like ill-adjusted, and that and that they were going to be have such a hard time with it, and it just never happened. I feel like we are in
Mm.
our head so much about mostly about guilt. Like, I felt so guilty about what I was doing to my family. But ultimately, like, everybody's very resilient. Worrying does absolutely nothing to help the situation, and you just kind of have to like take it one step at a time and know that you're going to be in a sticky situation for a little while. And during that time, I really, one of the things that I made a promise to myself that I was going to do during that time is, like, I knew it was such a stressful time for me. I knew that it was affecting my health, and I was like, okay, I can have wine and try to numb out during this time, or I can get really serious about making this as easy as possible and not adding any extra stress into my life. So I decided to be sober during that whole period of time. And that was honestly invaluable, because I
Yeah.
feel like I could have gone in one of two directions with it. And I think I know myself, and I know that when things get tough, like, I can either really step it up and focus on being super healthy. I got in like the best shape of my life. I wasn't drinking. And that was really helpful for me to just make sure that my mental health was as good as it could be during that time, because there was already so much stress that I couldn't avoid.
Yeah. And then you're also able to process things probably quicker because you're
Yeah,
not numbing your emotions. You're actually working through them because you have to.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things I learned during that time too. It's like, you can try to go around every emotion as much as you want, but you're going to face it one way or another. So
Yeah.
you might as well just hit it straight on while it's in front of you. Feel it, feel everything fully. And like, yoga was huge for me with that, because I feel like a lot of emotion gets trapped in the body. So just movement and being able to get it out that way. Meditation was so hard for me during that time. It's
Mm.
another tool that I've used in my life, but I feel like sometimes when you're in super high survival mode, it's hard to be still. So for me, it was easier to work out and just
In
to get it
like,
out that way.
I find yoga to be somewhat meditative because if I just go to the gym, I still have my phone. I'm like listening to a podcast. Like, you're interacting with people. It's not the same. Like, today I went and did a yoga class because I was like, I haven't been to the gym in so long, and I just want to like keep my phone in my locker and sit there in a hot room and not talk to anybody and just like be silent and in my own head. When you meditate, are you supposed to have no thoughts? Because I feel
It's
like that would be
so, like,
hard.
there's so many different types of meditation. Like, there's a certain kind of meditation where you're focusing on different parts of your body. Um,
Okay.
I practiced TM, which is you're repeating a mantra like over and over in your head. And when a thought comes in, you're supposed to just kind of like objectively notice it, and then let it go and return back to your mantra. And it's just doing that over and over and over again. And in that process, you kind of separate yourself from your thoughts. So then there's like your higher self and then the thinking you that now is you're like intentionally separating the two.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And I
but
feel
there's so
like
many different types. Like Headspace is an app that I've used, and that's one that's a little bit more guided.
Okay. I remember the first time I ever did a yoga class and they were like, okay, everybody sit down on your mats. And we had to be quiet and just sit there for like 5 minutes. It was like anxiety. Like,
I know. Isn't it so funny? And you're
oh,
like, this is so awkward. Does everybody else think it's awkward? But like nobody else really thinks the people who've been doing it for a long time don't think it's awkward anymore.
yeah, they
Now when
probably
I go to
enjoy
yoga
it.
classes, it's like nothing surprises me anymore. People are so vocal. Some people are quiet. Sometimes they'll just make you sit there for 10 minutes and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not getting my money's worth. But it's kind of all part of the process. I went to hot yoga this morning too, actually. That's so funny. That's why my hair's still wet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but I love it. I mean, it's been such a tool for me.
And
Like even just some of the poses, like camel pose, the one where you're like leaning totally back, a lot of the
oh,
heart opener poses. Sometimes I've cried during class before. Like you get emotional because it's true. Like your emotions are energy and they get trapped in different parts of your body. I love doing other types of workouts too, but nothing is as healing than yoga for me. But like none of my friends do it. My sisters don't do it. A lot of people are very yoga averse. I don't know why.
I do love it. But then because I'm getting older, I feel like I need to gain muscle.
Totally.
So I try and balance yoga with also just lifting weights because I feel like that's important. Like I'm naturally a really thin person, and if I don't lift weights, I'm just gonna like blow away into the wind, like as
Yeah.
I get older.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to also do the weight stuff. What do you
Same.
only do yoga or do you do other stuff as well?
No, lately I've been trying to do I tried to do Mega Reformer, which is like Legree style. It's torture and I absolutely hate it, but it's like that will change your body more than anything.
What's the difference between a regular reformer and a mega reformer?
So I used to do regular reformer to like classical style reformer. A mega reformer it's similar, but you're doing a lot more. What is the difference really? I mean, honestly, the difference in the machines is just like that it's bigger, but it's more the style of the class. Like it's like on steroids. You move
Okay.
quicker. You're doing more poses. You're not doing as much stretching. You're doing a lot of resistance, and you're doing a lot more strength training. So,
Okay.
where like classical Pilates, you can leave like kind of without breaking a sweat sometimes. I used
Mm,
to do it all the time and it's great. Like get a lot of stretching. A lot of things feel really good when you do it. Like nothing feels good in this class. You're
mm.
shaking the whole time because it's
Okay.
just like you really are targeting muscles, a lot of like a lot of holding poses. So I do that twice a week. And then this studio called Bunda opened recently here. Do you guys have Bunda?
No.
Okay, Bunda, it means butt in Portuguese. It's like a Brazilian brand, but it's a
Oh,
franchise and it's like half Stairmaster and then half heavy weights. Or like you can pick your weights, but it's all mostly butt focused. But
I need this class.
yeah, no, it's a really good class. I like it because it's not super difficult, but you're using the heavy weights and you're getting just enough cardio. So try to do a little bit of that. I'll do the mega reformer and then I do yoga and I would do yoga every day instead of any of the other stuff. But it's true. Like if you look around the room, it's not like there's people who practice yoga every day and they don't have a lot of muscle. It depends what
Mm-hmm.
type of yoga you're doing. The kind of yoga I like to do, is not I wouldn't be gaining muscle
Yeah.
really. I
I
would
know
just be
because there's like the muscle that you can gain from lifting your body weight, but then there's the muscle that you gain lifting like 100 pounds, you
right
know?
or resistance
It's so
bands or things
different.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to
Yeah.
mix it up.
So with your career with podcasting, traveling, you're a mom to two young children, like how do you find the time and I guess the motivation to prioritize working out? I'm asking this selfishly because I would like your advice.
No, I know. I mean, I feel you. For me, honestly, it's mostly mental. I feel like I would be crazy if I didn't work out. I really need it um to keep me sane. But also I'm single, so part of me is like I don't have the choice to let myself go.
Yet you're
I
like
was saying
one
that to my
day.
friend. I'm like, what? She's married, like happily with 2 kids. I'm like, why are you beating yourself up? Like she goes to like 6 a.m. yoga or whatever,
Oh,
or 6 a.m. like Barry's boot camp or something. And I'm like, you don't worry about it. You're fine. Like you don't need to
yeah.
look hot anymore. But no, it's for everybody. I think it's just we know that it's going to keep us sane. It's going to keep us, feeling and looking younger. And it's just so important to
Yeah.
build that muscle and to get into those healthy routines.
I know. I also think because I was an elderly mom having
Yeah.
Milo at 34, like my mom had us in her early 20s, so
Hmm.
she was like a young spring chicken for so long of our life. I had Milo at 34, so like I'm gonna age while he is still kind of young. And so it's like I don't want to go on family vacations and be like, oh, I can't like do the hike or
I
like I want to be
know.
active when I'm older
Well,
and
first of all,
enjoy
you
life.
look
People live so
amazing.
long now.
They do live so long. And actually, one of the things, so I'm a partner with Thorne
Mm-hmm.
Supplements, and I took this biological, no, yeah, biological age test. So it's like how old are you chronologically, and then how old are you biologically if we just look at your cells. And I was like a little bit younger biologically, but they said one of the like best things you can do to quite literally turn back the clock so that like you are younger than your chronological age is lifting weights
Yeah.
and building the muscle mass. Because I mean, I'm not going to go into the science of it because I don't know it, but pretty much it has something to do with like the like the chemicals that are released in the process of building muscle that is keeping us it's anti-aging, totally
Right.
anti-aging. And then like taking a creatine supplement on top of your workouts and making sure you're getting in enough protein. It's so funny. Instagram is like everybody's making fun of like the recommended amount of protein because it's like you just could never get it. Like you have to eat half of a cow every
Yeah.
day and then you,
Yeah.
you might be okay. So like I have my protein supplement that I just mix in water because like I cannot be bothered to make a smoothie every day. That's the other thing, like just giving yourself manageable goals. Like if I'm gonna
Yes.
have a protein like shake every day, I know myself. I'm not gonna make a smoothie every day. So I'll just mix it in water and chug it. And then I'll put like
Yeah.
little magnesium and creatine in it. And that definitely does make a difference. So now I have like a personal goal where I want to turn back the clock even further. So I'm going to take the test again next year after I keep building more muscle.
What does the test entail? I feel like I've done it before, but a long time ago.
It's a blood test.
A blood test.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
just
I
like
gotta get this.
I don't know exactly the markers that they're looking for, but they're able to tell from your blood what your biological
Okay.
age is.
I gotta do this. That's such a good idea. You can do it and then you're like, okay, in a year I'm gonna do it
Like, let's
again and let's
see.
see
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
that's amazing.
I know.
Um,
And then I'm going to start putting on my dating profile like 23 and be like, well,
yeah,
I'm not lying. This is just
yeah.
sorry. It's
Like here's
science.
my results. Yeah. That's so funny. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. It's called Barely Filtered, which that's such a good name.
Thank you.
Um, and what are your favorite topics to talk about on the podcast?
Yeah, so it's called Barely Filtered. You can find it anywhere. And I really love to lean into wellness, but wellness through a different lens. Wellness from the lens of a very honest and kind of broken person, like life. And I don't say that in a demeaning way about myself, but there's so many topics that we talk about in terms of like how I manage my ADHD, how I manage my relationship with alcohol. Ketamine treatments is like a most recent one that we did. I like to figure out ways to feel and kind of make life more efficient. through the lens of somebody who is kind of like, I do like a cha-cha in my life where it's like I'll be really healthy and then I have a setback where I'm like,
That's me.
like I'm kind of like a black and white thinker, and so I can be kind of all over the place. So you never really know what you're going to get, and I think people like that. But some days I'll come in and I'll be like, listen, I know I told you that I wasn't going to drink anymore, but life happened and I had some
This is
wine and I
so
feel like
me.
shit, and I made this bad choice, so now I'm going to try this and see what happens. But I love to interview people who um from all sides of the wellness spectrum. So like I interview medical doctors who give certain advice from that lens, but then other times I have like a naturopathic kind of doctor who will tell you like most recently my gynecologist came on and I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. She's like, you should take birth control and you should take this. I forget what the other one was. Just like some supplements, and that'll solve your problem. And then this naturopath is like, no, don't take birth control. You probably have PCOS from the birth control. Doctors kind of like mitigate symptoms where a naturopath really wants to get to the root cause. So
Yeah.
I'm on a journey there with acupuncture and trying to heal my PCOS naturally. But sometimes it is easier to just be like, I'm going to do the Band-Aid solution because I don't have time to do it the holistic way. And
that's what I just did. I just
yeah.
started birth control back up in June because I thought I was going through like perimenopause, like starting to go into that. And my symptoms were so terrible. And I tried for like 6 months to do it the natural way with like what I'm eating and like supplements. And I was like, I can't do this
it's
anymore.
So hard.
Like,
I mean, and honestly, like I do believe that certain times in life are just too stressful where like we don't have maybe even the money, the time, or the desire to try to like fix the root cause now. So you put the Band-Aid on it, you basically shut down your whole menstrual system, which, there's pros and cons to that. And so I feel like as women, we don't really, we don't know all of our options all the time. And I think it's so interesting now, all the things that are coming out about our food and all of the different like fringe types of healing modalities like psychedelics and, and things like acupuncture that I hope are going to make a little bit more of a resurgence in like an affordable way. Because the thing is, acupuncture, my birth control is like 49 cents a month. Acupuncture is expensive. So it's always,
how often do you go?
Sorry?
How often do you go for acupuncture?
So my PCOS symptoms were bad. They were like acne and my moods were all over the place and it was just really bad. And I bought like a 10-pack of acupuncture and it all went away. And then it kind of like started coming back. The idea is that you don't need to do it forever, but I think but the problem is that if you're doing things like drinking wine or smoking nicotine, which I ended up, this is a whole other story, but I ended up becoming addicted to nicotine most of last year. So that was a huge hormone disruptor. The foods we're eating, the plastics we're ingesting, the toxins in, our environment. There's so many endocrine disruptors that it's like, I feel like we're always, it's so hard to manage our health sometimes, especially when you don't really know exactly what is causing the problem. I recently did a food sensitivity test too. And it's like, oh, dairy and eggs you should avoid. And it's like, okay, well, I eat that every single day. So thank you for letting me know. I guess I'll try to avoid that. And sometimes I still have dairy and eggs because I'm like, I don't feel like being healthy today. It's
That's
like,
me. I'm like, I'm not eating gluten. Gluten is terrible for me. Like, I know it affects me. And then, 2 weeks goes by and I'm like in Europe or something. I'm like, as if I'm not going to have a croissant in Europe.
100%.
Like,
I did the exact same thing with gluten for me. Like, it makes me bloated. It causes inflammation in my body. Yeah. And if there's pizza here, it's just, life is just a bunch of little choices. And I think that's what I'm learning. Like, now that I'm in my 30s, I'm just like, these choices, they actually make a difference. Like in our 20s, you could make bad choices left and right, and it wouldn't really add up. You wouldn't I pay the price for every bad choice I make now. I don't get away with
It's
anything.
so true. Like with wine, like now if I drink wine and I go to sleep, I'm having raging heart palpitations. I'm like, what
Totally.
the hell? When I was in my 20s, I used to live across the street from, it's called Sugar Mountain. It's just this massive candy store. And I
Okay.
specifically remember, like on any given day during the week, like a bag of candy, I would just sit there and like watch Netflix and eat my candy. Like,
Yeah. And
what?
you'd be fine. Yeah.
Totally fine.
And
Didn't even
now it's
affect
like
me.
we can't avoid the physical symptoms, but we also knew better, and that makes it worse.
Yeah. It's
Because
like,
now we're
damn
like,
it. When I
yeah.
was just ignorant and had no idea what I was
Oh,
doing,
life was,
those were the
yes,
days. Those
they
were the
were.
days. I wanted to ask a little bit about the Culpo Sisters reality TV show. I have not
Yeah.
seen it yet, but I need to watch it. I've heard that it's really good. What was that experience like?
It's so funny because I actually just bought the season this morning because I wanted to do a post on like all the things I've ever done to my face that I regret. And one thing, I haven't done a lot to my face, but like I've done Botox, and then I've done Botox, and have done filler in my lips. But when I had Botox, I did little Botox right here, and that
Yeah.
whole season, I'm like like my lip does not move. So I was trying to like get a clip so I could be like, okay, don't do this ever. But apart from my paralyzed upper lip, the season was actually so much fun. I had a great time. It was right in the midst of my divorce, so I actually was having panic attacks. Like what now I know are panic attacks. I didn't know what they were at the time, but so it was a very difficult time. But it was all captured. I mean, it couldn't have content wise. The show couldn't have been filmed at a better time. I was losing control of everything in my life. And it was fun. I mean, my parents people still come up to me to this day and they're like, your dad is such a riot. It was like my whole
Aw.
family, and I got to work with my sisters. And it was a bummer because we didn't get picked up for a second season. We ended up being on HBO, started on Discovery, and then HBO didn't pick up any second season unscripted. And for a minute, we were trying to kind of pitch it elsewhere, but then Olivia ended up getting married. Her husband doesn't want to be on it, and she's
Hmm.
kind of going in a different direction. But I had so much fun. I would totally do something like that again.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. Is it like set recording times? Like, oh, okay, they're going to be filming
Yeah.
like however much. And is it a lot at one time? Like in a week, are they like constantly there or is it like spread out?
Yeah, it was intense. It was all day, every day for like a few weeks, and then that was it. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think it was it was like October we shot one, and then I think April and May we shot the remaining 5 episodes. So it happened in a pretty short period of time, but intense during that time.
Hmm. All right. I saw that you did, this was just like a random question. You did lymphatic drainage, which I've always wanted to try.
Hmm.
Where do you get it done? Is it like a full body thing? And do you
Yeah.
actually notice it
Oh
does
yeah.
something?
It's huge. I'm obsessed. So my best friend owns a lymphatic massage,
Oh,
like salon, two of them in this area. So I got hooked up with it that way. I actually met her because she was like, reached out to me as a local influencer to come in, and we just hit it off. But yeah, so I do it all over my body. Our whole body is made of lymph, like has lymph nodes, like all over, a lot in our stomach. And it's not a massage where they're working with your muscles at all. They're just basically like inflammation is going down, and you're debloating, depuffing, and it's a lot of excess water that you end up just peeing out. But I do it on my whole body. She does it on the face too, but she won't do just the face. You have to do the body and the face because everything is so connected. But it makes such a big difference. Like my whole house was really sick a couple weeks ago. I felt like I was getting it. I knew I was going to get it because everybody else got it. I got a lymphatic, and I had like one day of a cold. It really
mm,
helps with your immune response and like your immune system. It helps to flush out toxins. Super good for you.
I want to do it so bad. How long is the appointment for them to
Like
do
an
it?
hour. It's like a regular massage time. I'm sure you could find one. It's very Brazilian. Like there's a big Brazilian community in LA, and Brazil is like known for their lymphatic massages. So you just got to find
Which,
where they are in Toronto.
yeah, I think I've heard of some downtown Toronto, but like it's a nightmare to go down, especially in the next couple weeks because Taylor Swift is coming.
Oh
So
my
it's going to
God,
be
yeah, don't
like
feel.
a nightmare. Avoid it at all costs. But where, like, if I ever go to LA, I'm only in West Hollywood.
Okay.
Is it in that area?
There is one out there. What's her name?
Okay.
Flavia is the woman out there. And she's in Beverly Hills. My friend Siani is in Manhattan Beach. But I mean, like, I record my podcast in West Hollywood and I live in Manhattan Beach. It's only like 30
Oh,
minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I need to do it. I think it would be so, like, I always find like under my eyes get puffy.
Oh, yeah.
And I just like have dreams of someone like
Okay,
massaging
you
it
have to
out.
go to this place called Face Gym. It's right,
Oh my
like,
God, I
next to,
walk past it all the
yeah,
time in
next
West
to the One
Hollywood.
Hotel, right? In West Hollywood.
Yes. And
It
I see
is.
people like getting like
They
manhandled in the
take your
window.
face and just like the whole thing is lifted. And then there's another girl who I actually am going to today. I cannot wait. She does this Korean facial massage. Her name's Jackie, and at Skin Worship, go to her too. She does. One thing that I'm realizing is like the manual lifting of our muscles in our face. It's underrated. You know, like you don't need eye surgery. You just need to like go like this every day. And then like watch how this part of my face is just like now lifted that I did that. Look,
Yeah.
that to that. That's all
I
you
know,
need.
it's crazy.
So every day. And I'm like, who can gua sha every day? For God's sake. Like,
Yeah, you better do your other side.
I know I have to do this side so I don't, so I'm not crooked.
They're like, what happened to her face halfway through? Or
The
near
power
the
of
end.
gua sha.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the nicotine addiction, like how it happened, what it felt like when you were addicted, and then the process of quitting?
Yeah. So during the time when I wasn't drinking during my divorce, I was like, oh, I need something, and I hate weed, and I don't like I didn't want to do anything like that. But like when I go out, everybody would have these stupid little vapes, and I was like, just give it to me. Like I need something. I had like my Red Bull and my vape. It's like I am not the pinnacle of health over here. I just try to avoid the things that I know are really bad for me. So, the vaping was a bad decision because I
So
did not
initially, when
realize.
you started it, did you have, because I feel like a lot of people assume it's not as bad. I know nothing about any of this stuff, but I assume people think it's not a big deal to vape.
Yeah, I mean, what I thought of it was like, because like in high school, I would have drags of cigarettes of people, and I never got addicted, and I never would. Like I was like, oh, I'm just not somebody who gets addicted to cigarettes. My ex-husband actually smoked cigarettes, and I was always like disgusted by it. And I would just didn't think I would be a person who'd be addicted to nicotine. And I thought that like I listened to an episode by Huberman, Andrew Huberman, the Huberman Lab, and he was talking about how like, okay, all nicotine is bad for you, especially vape, like all of it's bad. But he did do an order of what's worse, and cigarettes are worse because it's carcinogenic, it's burning fumes, whereas vape is toxic, but it's not as bad
It's
as
like a
cigarettes. So I was like,
steam.
it's steam, but it's nicotine in a liquid form that you're then putting into
Right.
your lungs. And like that's not even talking about like the flavors that they put in it, God knows what. But so I just like took some hits of that, and I found myself kind of being left with this uneasy feeling that like only another puff of it made me feel better. So one thing led to another. I bought one, and it was just like my like little dirty secret that I'm not gonna lie, I actually loved it. Like I can't do it because it's horrible, and I don't want to die, and I have children, and people rely on me, and it actually leaves you more anxious than it's this horrible cycle that where like you become dependent on the nicotine to give your brain a boost of chemicals that it would have made by itself had you not introduced the substance to it. So it's just this horrible thing. But I loved the sneaky ness of like being able to go in the bathroom and taking a hit of it and nobody knew. or like because you're not, it doesn't smell, and it's like nobody knows. I don't know. I felt like during that time it was like my little secret, and I liked it. And then I started to realize it was, first of all, it was ruining my skin. It's a
Mm.
huge hormone disruptor, and my PCOS was like all over the place. So I was like anxious, depressed, whatever. I tried to quit a bunch of times, and it was very hard for me to quit because I knew that I felt so bad, and that one hit would make me feel better again. And there is the drug addict.
Yeah.
I mean, nicotine really is a drug. It's a very powerful drug. And I went through phases where I would try to use like a patch, and the patch actually gives you higher doses of sustained nicotine for longer periods of time, leaving you more addicted to nicotine. And they're made by the tobacco company. So it's like, obviously they
Oh,
want you to be more addicted. Most people who
yeah.
do any kind of like a patch or a gum end up going back to nicotine. And then what ultimately finally got me off was like I took Wellbutrin, which is it works with like norepinephrine and dopamine in your brain, and those are that is what you're withdrawing from, a lot of what you're withdrawing from when you quit nicotine. So that helped to curb the cravings just enough. Like I was still miserable for 2 weeks, and I gained 15 pounds because
Hmm.
that's just what happens. But then I was free, and it was so worth it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I see. I'm always shocked when especially in Europe, I find everybody walking
Everybody,
around has these like things that they're sucking on. I'm
everybody,
like, yeah,
everybody, literally. It's crazy. It's hard. It's really hard because it is everywhere, and it never leaves you, that craving. You like every time I see one, I'm always like, I kind of want to drag, but I just know it's like
like,
these are
oh,
the
they're
choices.
lucky.
These are the choices. It's like,
Yeah.
do I want to open that can of worms? I need to remind myself of the agony that I went through during that period of time. Um, and ultimately, I do think the best feeling is being proud of yourself, knowing that you're acting in accordance with your values, and like waking up in the morning with a clear conscience, and knowing that like I'm not killing myself on purpose when I have children. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just a practice in reminding yourself of those things.
Yeah. Okay, before I let you go, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Just these are meant to be just like fun. Um, so the first one is, what is your favorite reality TV show?
I'm kind of boring. Well, and I like my reality shows are like cooking shows. I'm not gonna lie. I
Okay.
love like Top Chef, or I've been trying to get into Great British Bake Off. My mom's obsessed with
Okay.
it. That's a little slow for me. I also love Survivor. My ex-husband was actually on
Okay.
Survivor. Um, yeah. So those.
Love it. If you had to be on a reality show, which one would it be? It could be like a competition show, like anything.
Maybe Survivor.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
That's like my worst nightmare.
I feel like I could do it. I don't know. I'm pretty whiny and complainy.
Maybe you have like insider information though, since your ex-husband was on it. Like, are they
No, he was
legit
voted
just
off
out
like
there by
second.
themselves?
What?
Oh, he was?
Yeah, no, he did not. It's like a strategy. It's half luck and half strategy, but mostly you need to get people to like you. And
Yeah.
I don't know how good I am. I don't know if I could be good at that for like a whole month. I think I would probably, I don't know.
Like manipulating and just like, yeah.
Yeah, spinning
Yeah, I know.
webs,
It's
being
the same. It's kind of
manipulative.
like Big Brother.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's the same. I think
Um,
it's the same people.
what is something that is always in your purse?
Um, Probably my lipstick, like a lip liner and lipstick.
Is there a favorite shade of lipstick that you have?
I use Makeup by Mario Raza Ultra Suede Matte. And then I use usually like a Charlotte Tilbury lip liner, I think in Pillow Talk, like more of like a brown tone.
Nice. Uh, dream guest to have on your podcast.
Probably Andrew Huberman, or Marianne Williamson. Those are two people that I've always really wanted to talk to in person.
Who's Miriam
Marianne Williamson
Will?
wrote a book called A Return to Love in like 1992, and it was one of my favorite books forever. It's just like it's the book that I give every friend who's going through anything hard, like a breakup or something. And she actually
Oh,
ran for president, and she's gone kind of political, and which I never would have thought for her ever. To me, she was always like a spiritual teacher before, and now she's kind of like a socialist, but neither here nor
huh,
there. I still want to talk to her.
nice. Random question. Do you believe in aliens? Have you seen any of the documentaries lately?
I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think I do believe in aliens. Like I don't know. I don't know, but I need to watch. If I watch it, I probably will. What is it? What do I need to watch?
We'll circle back.
Okay.
No, there's a few documentaries on Netflix and stuff that are about aliens, and I'm just like, it has to be true.
I
But
don't know. I just feel like there's no. Yeah, I don't know. I only know about our galaxy planets, and I feel like there's nowhere anybody could live except maybe Mars, but like we can see and nobody's there.
oh, that's true. Okay,
Like
never
climate
mind.
wise, unless maybe these aliens can live in different temperatures. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, like who knows? I don't know. We're not going to figure it out on this
Yeah, I don't think
podcast.
we're gonna figure it out.
Are you a Swiftie?
No,
No? Okay, that's fair. I'm a new Swiftie, so I feel what like I was where
I
you
see the
are.
passion and I'm here for it. I love the
Yeah.
joy that she's bringing to little girls, but I don't particularly love Taylor Swift.
Okay. My friend dragged me to the Eras tour. I never understood. I'm like, I don't understand what this hoopla is about. And then I went to the Eras tour movie and I was
Uh,
just like, oh my God. And then I started to listen to her music because I was
mhm.
like, well, if she comes to Toronto, I want to go to the show. So
Yeah.
then I downloaded the playlist from the concert and I started listening to that. And then I was like learning about the lyrics and it was just like a slippery slope. And
Yeah, I bet I could get hooked into that too.
yeah, be
I
careful.
just I don't know. I think as a person, um, I'm just skeptical. I don't know.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I made a reel once because she did something and I was like, that was really loser behavior. Like I said something and then everyone came after me. I was like,
Oh,
oh
you
my
can't
God.
mess with the Swifties.
I didn't realize. I was
I
just
got in
like,
trouble for that. Oh, yeah. You know why I got in trouble? Because a friend of mine is Scooter Braun, and they
oh,
like, yeah. So I think that's one reason people hated me because I like I
yeah.
shared something that he posted, and they were like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God!" Then all the Swifties came after me, and then my sister's husband played in the Super Bowl last year
Oh,
against
yes.
the Chiefs. So we were not. No, no.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Now it's making sense to me.
Yes,
I
they're
got it. I got it.
enemies.
I got
I'm
it.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. Like I honestly could care less. She's probably
Yeah.
fine. And we're born the
Yeah.
same year, so we have that in common.
Hmm. Have you seen a good movie recently that you would recommend?
Well, actually I have, and it's a kids movie and it's called Wild Robot. Did you see it?
Yes, we just watched it on the
It was so
weekend.
good. Wasn't it
Oh
so
my
good?
God,
I know.
yes.
I
And the
cried.
animation is so unique. Like,
So unique. Yeah.
yeah, everyone was telling
Love.
me, you have to see this, you have to see this. And I was like, Jesus, like these are like grown adults telling me
I
I
know.
have
I
to see
bought
this
it. I
movie.
bought it for like $20 or whatever. I was like, fine. So
Okay, so everybody see The Wild Robot if you haven't already. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was great.
thank you for
Tell
having me.
everybody
So
where they
much
can
fun.
find you online and where they can find your podcast.
Yeah, so come follow my podcast. It's called Barely Filtered, and we talk about all the crazy things going on in my life. I also preface every episode with like 10 minutes of what's going on in my dating life, which is usually very entertaining to
Okay,
say the
that's fun.
least. So, and then we talk about everything from wellness, motherhood, and yeah, all sorts of crazy topics around how to be the best person you could be. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Aurora Culpo.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was amazing.
Thank you so much. So much fun.
Eh,